the question we've all been asking for a good few weeks now is: will the Hajj be opened up this year compared to the previous years beyond the borders of Saudi Arabia? And the answer to that is yes. It's already been opened up for Umrah, as you know. Many South Africans there right away. The next question is like, how many people will they allow in total? We didn't know before. We know now it's 1 million people. The next question is, okay, if we have 1 million globally, how many South Africans? And I must say, my uneducated guess was based upon what I think would be a rough formula of South Africa's population. I thought we'd probably get 500. Understand the figure is about 1,100. Let's try and understand how we got to the 1,100 and a bit with the president of SAHUC, Shaheen Essop. Shaheen, as always, good talking to you. Assalamu alaikum and good morning.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, to you, Ashraf, to everybody at Salam Media, and to the viewers and listeners of Salam Media.
Thank you. Okay, so we got that number now, 1,100 and what, 23 or
32.
Well, just over that, right? Yeah. Okay. Are you happy with that number? Considering it's been pegged at 1 million, yeah?
I think if one looks at the cutbacks that has happened worldwide, and the cutback from 2.3 to 2.5 million worldwide, we've down to 1 million. About 40 to 45% is what every country seems to be getting. There's a list that's going about with India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Turkey. Everybody's been cut back quite considerably. So if we look at the number that we have into comparison to the 2,500 base quota that we normally get, then 45% is basically smack on par with what the kingdom has released.
All right. Would you? Is that up for negotiation? I mean, could you still go back to them? Because I know in the past, if they've given you like 1,000 or two, even at the last minute, you get it up to 3,000. Is there still any room for negotiation?
We're constantly optimistic that we can go back and ask for an increase in the quota, and we possibly, are going to do the same thing that we've been doing every year to ask for an increase in the numbers. The interesting thing is that when the contract was presented to us, indication was that by the 15th of Shawwal, we need to inform the ministry whether we are going to fulfill the quota or whether we're going to be bringing it short. That way, they could then, review it and redistribute quotas to other countries, that want an increase in the numbers. So in the same way, we're going to put our case forward and present ourselves for that particular purpose.
Meaning if there's a shortfall in other countries, they could hopefully pass it on
100%.
to you, right? Do you see yourself fulfilling that quota of 1,100 or so?
Absolutely so. There's in excess of 60,000 people waiting to perform Hajj that have never performed Hajj before. And, the 2 years that have just passed where nobody went for Hajj, 2020 and 2021, has certainly seen a massive, swelling of the queue and the backlog. And we're hopeful, inshallah, that we would be able to, get that down as fast as possible. Restrictions, obviously, from a point of view that, under 65s are allowed to make Hajj has made it a little bit more difficult. Administratively, we've got to obviously sift through the process. In addition to which, the only other issues that we've picked up is that people must be fully vaccinated. And you must have a negative PCR certificate 72 hours before you enter the kingdom. Away from that, I think it's all systems go, except for the pricing. We're waiting for pricing to come out of the kingdom, in terms of hotels, in terms of the camp prices and the 5 days of Hajj, so that we can, give the Hujjaj an informed choice when they make their selection of Hajj operators.
And that pricing then gets communicated to the tour operators who then would charge the public, right?
Well, the pricing, the static pricing, we're talking about the camp prices, the tanazzul, we're talking about the bus pricing. The hotel pricing is negotiated directly by the operators with their respective hotels, in terms of the packages that they're going to be supplying.
Now, I know, the issue of timelines are particularly important. Hajj, the Hajj itself is what, approximately 2 months after Eid al-Fitr, which comes up in about 10 days or 12 days time from now, right? Which means people need to really push. So historically, people would have gone for Hajj classes probably even a month before Ramadan. So this has changed considerably. How much of a you want to obviously invite people to say yes or no for this year. How quickly will the turnaround be? Because I know historically you'd have a first round, a second round, a third round till you get the quotas. How quickly, therefore, would you require a yes from those people who are in the 1,100?
As we've done in the past, Ashraf, we put a dynamic portal up on our system where a person could go and see their position in the queue. And the main purpose of that particular portal was to ensure that people would go and see where they are in the queue, and if their finances or if their circumstances have changed for this year, notify SAHUC to take them out of the queue and move them into another year. That way, we sanitize the list, we make it as clean as possible in order to reduce the number of accreditations that come out on on the time when we are going to release. We're hopeful that when this 1,132 gets released, that the majority of people will take it up, and we don't have to go to multiple lists in order to fill the quota. The sooner we can implement that and the sooner we can get that done, the better it's going to be for everybody. I think the elephant in the room is going to be pricing, because right now people are expecting to be accredited within the next 3 to 4 days. Pricing is not yet out. Once pricing comes about, people will then determine whether they can or cannot go, and that's to be expected. And we prepared for that fallout at that particular point in time. But hopeful that at the onset of the process, we're going to see a reduced number of lists go out.
And therefore, notwithstanding all the things you've said, and it makes sense to me, how much time, if the list comes out in 4 days' time, how much time thereafter are they going to be given to make the decision?
I don't think people will require more than 10 days to make the decision, because judging from the emails and the communications that we've been receiving, people are ready to go for Hajj. So it'll almost be immediate, take up from the Hujjaj. We're possibly going to look at, 10 days maximum. I don't think we can go beyond that, because by now you've waited for 2 years. You know whether you want to go for Hajj or not going to go for Hajj. You're either going to transfer or defer, or you're going to accept your accreditation.
Yeah, that makes sense. Does it? Will the numbers also have an impact on the tour operators? Meaning that whether some of them are doing it for profit, whether some of them do it as an NPO. Either way, the fat in terms of delivering people for the Hajj comes from the numbers that they take away, right? Which means that there's bound to be less operators, or if they are the same, they'll be taking less people this time around.
Well, you know what, our process for operator accreditation closed on the 11th of April, and there is definitely going to be less operators than we've seen in the past. With 1,132 pilgrims, I think it is fair to say that, the spread will do well over the operators that have applied. And inshallah, as soon as the operators are accredited by the committee, that it will be publicized, and people will then know exactly, how many Hujjaj there are in terms of the process at hand.
Okay, just finally, at this point in time, is there anything else you would like to address the South African public on regarding Hajj?
I think the most important thing is that people need to be considerate in terms of the accreditation once it is out. If you are going to go for Hajj, accept the accreditation. If you're not going to go for Hajj, then defer immediately. Don't hang on to the process, and be hopeful that, in a week or 2 or 3 or a month's time, you're going to make a decision. Be mindful of people that are waiting in the queue that would like to go. We're working on a date and time priority. So first come, first serve in terms of date of application in the system. And we work according to that for fairness and equitability, inshallah.
And of course, for all of us who've been for the Hajj, the next best thing once you go for the Hajj is to greet those who are going again, which we have not been able to do for the last 2 years. We're certainly looking forward to having that sort of engagement with the Hujjaj on that incredible trip of a lifetime. Appreciate your time, Shaheen Essop. Thanks for that. I'm sure we'll chat a lot more in the next few days and then beyond Ramadan as well.
Jazakallah.
Perfect. Right. Assalamu alaikum, the president of SAHUC. So there you have it. You're bound to know in the next 3 or 4 days whether you've been accredited, but you already know how far you are on that list, right? So you have a good sense of where you come from. What Shaheen is saying, in fact, is if you're not going, remove yourself, defer, so that's out. They can pass it on to someone quickly. And that if you're considering going, well, you got 4, maybe 10 days once you get told to make their decision, so that they can very quickly pass it on to the next bit of people. So about 1,100 people. That's where we are. I thought there's going to be less, but 1,100, about 40% or 45% of what we would expect in the normal 2,500 quota, if we had 2.5 million people, is what we have, right? Let me just remind you as well that Sentio is an ethically based asset manager that is focused on delivering superior risk-adjusted returns for their clients, regardless of market conditions. Now, for more info on their Sharia investment products, visit the website sentiocapital.com. That's sentio-capital.com. Start saving towards your investment goals today. Sentio Capital Management, invest for good. Sentio Capital Management is an authorized financial services provider.